Hey, everyone. I hope all is well. We are going live. Having some technical difficulties, but we are going to fix it nonetheless. Lord, I look a hot mess. we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it. Can you see where I'm live from there? Because I'm using my phone now. Okay, so we're just gonna make it happen. You know, I'm not gonna let anything stop us. The show is going to continue no matter what. So we're gonna go ahead. Just let me know. We're gonna start the radio portion.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go.
Back in now.
All right. You want me to wait on her? That's fine. We can wait. We good? We're gonna do the radio portion, and this is my phone address. I don't know if you wanna use that, but we're just gonna do what we gotta do. We're live now, so you could probably switch it back over to me, and we're gonna make it happen. So you could start radio. You wanna start radio? We're gonna start radio. Go ahead.
3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome everyone to Your Lane Talk Show with your girl, Coach Trish Hanna. Broadcasting live from beautiful Nassau, Bahamas. I want to thank you so much for your patience, for those who've been tuning in and WhatsApping me. What's going on, Trishawn? What's going on? Listen to me. We had so many different things happening, from losing a whole producer to having to pick up one from Guardian side from his house. All right. We had to go drive. Now, y'all know where I live. I had to go drive on the next side of town, just the next side of the island, to go pick up a producer who was just willingly, and ain't like him nothing else to do, because he have all kind of things to do. But he still came, out of good faith, to come and help us today. So, of course, he's learning this particular board because, we're on Star 106. This is a Guardian Radio producer, so he's assisting as best as he can. So I need y'all to be patient with us, okay? I'm beyond blessed to be your host on a show designed to educate, encourage, and empower women of all ages. And here on Your Lane Talk Show, we explore healing, personal growth, and stepping boldly into purpose. We focus on what it means to be whole in mind, body, and spirit, okay? And while gaining wisdom to navigate life's challenges. This is a space for real conversations, y'all. Powerful insights and transformational moments that inspire you to live fully and fearlessly. Now, last Sunday, we hosted 3 beautiful Bahamian boss ladies. All right, I'm going to do that for you, correct? I'm going to do that. All right, because these women are those who impact us at large in their various businesses. They break barriers. They inspire the next generation. They doing their thing, all right? These women have built, scaled, and even redefined what success looks like. We discuss what it is to own a business with your spouse, because that's a whole new different thing. Listen here, if you and your husband can balance out a business without trying to choke each other every day, you the boss. You the real boss, okay? We also talk about balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship, knowing when to stop what you're doing to go make sure you at the child's baseball's or soccer game. We also spoke about navigating the mental challenges of running a business. We all know that comes with a lot of work, having to know that, hey, I need time for myself, etc. Instead of just always going. At some point, you have to be still and rest. So we spoke about all of that. We got deep into the highs and the struggles and the lessons they've learned along the way. So if you want to know more about it, you can go to episode 124 of Bahamian Boss Ladies, the hustle, the challenges, and the triumphs, okay, on YouTube. And while you are there, please like and subscribe. That's episode 124, FYI. Now for today's show, we know that parent trauma is one of the deepest wounds a person can carry. And the way we were raised shapes how we see ourselves, how we navigate relationships, and even how we parent our own children. For many, childhood was filled with love and security, but for others, it was marked by neglect, emotional wounds, and in some cases, abuse, leaving scars that don't simply fade with time. Only God can actually heal those scars in some cases. All right, but here's the truth. Pain from the past doesn't have to define your future, all right? Tonight, we're diving into the hard but necessary conversation about parent trauma. how it impacts us, how it manifests in our parenting, and most importantly, how we can heal. Joining me are two incredible women who have walked this journey firsthand. They have not only broken free from the cycles of their past, but are now raising their own children with intention, love, and a renewed mindset. They'll be sharing their powerful stories, lessons learned, and the steps they took to rewrite their narrative. Now, if you've ever struggled with the weight of upbringing, okay, if you found yourself parenting from a place of pain, or if you're simply searching for hope and healing, this episode is for you. It's time to break the cycle, reclaim your wholeness, and step into the freedom that comes with healing. Now, there's something about parents back in the days, like, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or it's an ethnic thing, or but I know when I spoke to these two individuals, somehow I noticed that their stories are a little bit similar, like, and they're also relatable, you know, at least certain parts of their stories. So to some people, when you actually hear what they have to say, you'll be like, wow, I experienced that too, you know. And even if you haven't experienced it, you know someone, you know a neighbor, you know a cousin or someone, some church member, someone who've probably been through that same scenario or a situation that they have. So I need you to tag a friend, call a friend, tell them to tune in to today's show. Let's allow God to do the healing today from these ladies' testimonies. Now, Your Lane Talk Show has various ways that we can be heard via Radio Star 106.5 FM, channel 976 on cable, and you can also watch us on Facebook on Your Lane Life Coaching Facebook page. YouTube on Coach Trish Annis. I don't know if we can do YouTube today. Listen, we're having a lot of technical difficulties, but I'm most certain that you may not be able to watch us live on YouTube, but you'll be able to watch us tomorrow because I've uploaded and put it on our Coach Trish Annis YouTube channel, all right? And you can also, no, you cannot watch us on the In Faith mobile app today, all right? But you may be able to watch it tomorrow, okay? But bear with us, be patient with us. Hopefully you can hear us. Hopefully we can see the comments so that if we do have any questions, I can ask the producer to read it for you. Today's producer is Chris. Hey, Chris, you good?
Hanging in.
Hanging in, he said. Listen, there's a lot of stress, pressure on him today as he's trying to, you know, navigate what we're doing here in this studio. This is a foreign studio. He's a guardian boy, right? Your Lane episode 125, Breaking the Cycle, Restoring Wholeness After Parent Trauma, is brought to you by John Shoe Store and Accessories, Your Lane Life Coaching, Emmanuel Medical Center. Take charge of your health with Emmanuel Medical Center, from annual physicals to managing diabetes, hypertension, and more. They provide compassionate, comprehensive care for all ages. You can give them a call at 393-9355 today. Emmanuel Medical Center, helping you achieve wellness. By DQ Bahamas. Guess what? Free Cone Day is coming. Did someone say free things? Free things. Okay, mark your calendars because Free Cone Day is coming up on March 27th. Come treat yourself to DQ's world famous creamy, dreamy ice cream kitty cones on the house, of course. All right, spread the word and let's celebrate with a swirl. Who's grabbing one? Only at DQ Bahamas. We're also brought to you by Lysol Disinfectant. Sickness can spread fast, but with Lysol, you go into protect mode. Nothing kills more viruses on your surfaces than Lysol Disinfectant Spray, distributed by Thompson Trading. We're also brought to you by Del Monte. And it's all about quality, Del Monte says. With non-GMO ingredients and BPA-free packaging, every can is packed with fresh, nutritious goodness. Okay, nutritious goodness. Perfect for the quick snacks or hearty meals. You can find Del Monte at your favorite food store. Fresh taste, smart choices, distributed by Thompson Trading. We're also brought to you by Airwick. All right, fill your home with the fresh, inviting scents of Airwick, from floral to fruity, warm to refreshing. There's a fragrance for every mood. With long-lasting freshness, Airwick transforms any space into a welcoming retreat. Find yours today. Airwick Home is in the air, distributed by Thompson Trading. And lastly, Fabulous Ronnie Hair Restoration Clinic. Attention all men, women, and children dealing with dandruff, alopecia, or any hair or scalp abnormality. Fabulous Ronnie Hair Restoration Clinic is here for you. As the #1 trichologist in the Bahamas, Fabulous Ronnie specializes in restoring hair health with expert care. They offer personalized consultations in a private one-on-one setting, ensuring you get the attention and solutions you deserve. With 2 convenient locations, Bay Street and Faith Avenue, you'll experience amazing customer service no matter where you go. Plus, they're open every Sunday for your convenience, okay? So don't wait. Take control of your hair health today. You can give them a call at 341-HAIR or 565-0228 to book your consultation with Fabulous Ronnie Hair Restoration Clinic. Whew. I feel like I just been running off of at least 10 years. All right, we ready to begin, man? We are ready to begin. We have with us in studio Dr. Kitiboni, Rolle, Adderley, and Katrina Conliffe, and they're here to share with us their experience of parent trauma. But just before we get into the questions, I know for a fact that they would want to share a little bit about themselves. Dr. Kitty, I didn't have a chance to tell you that it didn't make sense reading one and not having the other. So I'm going to give both of you an opportunity to just speak and just let the audience know a little bit about yourself before we begin. We're going to start with Dr. Kitty, and then we're going to work to Katrina. And I can't see her. Kitty! Oh, all right.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Hello, Bahamas and the world. I am a mare lover of life. I am a nature lover. I happen to be the mother of 3 beautiful daughters. I show up in the world as a physiotherapist, a holistic health healer, holistic health practitioner. So I encompass therapy for body, mind, and soul. I have 2 practices, handling your health, wellness, and rehab, Exoma Wellness and Rehab, where we offer physical therapy, wellness, herbal support, integrative health, mental support as well, and just offering a safe space. Patient population is primarily breast cancer survivors and people with chronic diseases like diabetes. But that's how I spend my day. But like I said, a love of nature, a love of life, and a mother of wonderful daughters, 3 wonderful daughters.
I love that. Ooh, I can milk that today. 3 wonderful daughters. I can't wait. Katrina?
Hi, my name is Katrina. I have 3 kids. I'm an educator by profession. I love kids. I advocate for them. I love people. I advocate for people. It doesn't matter whom they are. I can go somewhere, I feel something, I will advocate, not necessarily with words, but in intercession. I love the Lord. I am one that is very compassionate. I could say I'm shy, but not necessarily shy. I'm just discerning. I just discern and go as Holy Spirit leads. So that's a bit about me. I'm also advocate for literacy. I was nominated Literacy Teacher of the Year last year. And that's not just literacy because, sometimes when we think about education, we think it only has to do with their academic ability. But one of my strategy is reach before I make any assumption why the child or the person isn't connecting or learning. So that's pretty much me. I'm married to 1.
I was waiting on that because I was trying to figure out. You was about to close up.
1 husband, he's right there. And God has done a wonderful job in our marriage. We've been married for 18 years, but we can say maybe for the last 4 years, we'll say we're in our honeymoon stage because God healed our marriage. We were on the verge of a divorce, but because of God's faithfulness, because of our journey of healing individually and then collectively, that helped us.
Listen to me. No. I call him because I don't know how you know how the show is going. And he in the building. Ain't no way I can let a married woman come in here and just almost cut off about herself and don't mention her husband. That's what you know how I
know where you go. I know how you go.
So, sir,
It's my husband.
hello, this is my husband, Mr. Conliffe. How are you?
I'm good.
Listen, I want you, Katrina, to salute him. This is how I don't even say salute because it sounds too pretty. I want you to big up your husband on our show today. I'll give you 2 seconds because I know, especially how y'all, God and men, y'all, you may take but 50 years and we ain't got all that time here. But just salute him for us, please.
As you can see, he's very supportive. He is my mom passed yesterday, and that's why my shirt says Carol Legacy of Healing, and he's been very supportive. So he's the one I slept in his arms for the last few nights. So he's my defense in a lot of ways. Of course, God is first, but yeah.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Conliffe. Thank you. I just had to bring you in because I don't think they know how this thing happened. I ain't got a whole king inside here and don't salute him. All right? Blessings to you, sir. Thank you. All right, we're going to start. But first, before we start, of course, we just want to ensure that everyone is comfortable. I apologize once again for starting late. We had some technical difficulties. But nonetheless, Dr. Kitty and Katrina, thank you so much for being a part of your Lane Talk Show. And thank you for your patience with all of this. All right, so let's get straight into it, all right? Because we ain't going to sugarcoat today because of time. We want to know. I'm going to start with Dr. Kitty. We're going to give you about 2-3 minutes just to share about your childhood and the parent trauma you experienced.
Well, I think I had a great childhood. I grew up in Andros. So maybe growing up in a family island setting that had a very good village mentality helped buffer me from a lot of what we could call some of the trauma that I experienced. And it's interesting now having the conversation, the platform to actually call it trauma. You know, we just chuck it off and that's a part of life. That's what happens. It's in our culture. We accept it. So I think the most impactful thing in early childhood would have been the way my father carried himself. Father is very friendly. So there were moments where I saw my mom not her best self because she was dealing with extra energy from outside of the marriage. And, you know, I've had conversations with my dad to try and figure out how and why. And it's amazing that when he starts to talk, I understand that it comes from a place, like he used it, I don't know. It just happened. Some people approached, I'm not sure why. And so, you know, when we talk about the trauma and cycles, we have to operate with so much grace, right? And so when you deal with infidelity in a relationship as a child, it starts very early, especially for women, to set off trust issues. You find it hard to trust. And when you realize how many people know the improprieties that were done, who was supposed to be a part of your protection, and I'm talking family, and I'm talking very close friends, as you mature and as you move into your own relationships, it impacts you, and in ways that you don't know. So you're hypervigilant in some areas. You're very cautious. For me, I think how it manifested with me early on as I look back, because I want to understand, you know, what my pattern is, I move forward, is that there were a lot of secrets. And I think how that manifested in me is I became an oversharer because I don't believe in secrets. I want people around me who I love and respect to understand what's happening to me. I don't want to hide. And that in itself has negative effects if you don't share with the right people. And so that's just a snippet of it. And I know many of us can relate. My parents were married. My mom stayed with my father for 21 years. And when she decided that she needed a new shift in life, that set off another spark, but we'll go there go there later. But that's how I think one of the most impactful things that helped my foundation or formed me as a young woman moving into adulthood.
Listen, I don't care what nobody say. Infidelity impacts the children.
It does.
You so selfish, you're only considering yourself as what you want and how you want it now. But you don't understand. Children are like sponges. They pick up every single thing. They know when y'all arguing. All right. Even as much as you may say, oh well, some people like with us, we ain't gonna argue in front of our children. But that energy, believe it or not, that tension, okay, that's real. They know the difference. And even in some cases, I've seen where even when a child does not see, and this is another thing I'm talking about, this is another area, when they don't see the affection that is drawn or is given between their mother and their father, they tend to pick that up as well, and it's harder for them. In most cases in their relationships. They don't understand. Y'all don't understand how being a parent is such a big deal. Every single decision you make impacts not just your children, but your children's children. Yeah. That's in everything. You a smoker, you a drinker, you a partier, you want to go and have what's the word I want to use? Commit adultery. All of that plays a part, because when you're thinking you're doing something and you're covering it up, your children is going, this is a spiritual thing. It is. I have to share that. So the fact that Dr. Kitty's dad, I mean, and all due respect, was a little friendly, because she used the term, so let me just use her term. She's a little friendly. She picked that up. Dr. Kitty, at what age did you realize that you know, once again, I have to be careful because your dad is still alive.
My father's very much alive.
Yeah, so I don't want to say anything.
And I mean, people know my parents are divorced. Right. And like I said, it was common knowledge in many spaces.
Mm-hmm. And how old were you when you realized all of this was coming?
I think in my teen years. Mm-hmm. In my teen years, you started to look for patterns. You started to see patterns. And my mom is such a beautiful soul. And I think to her detriment, she kept too quiet for too long, right? But like you said, you know, they say it's the sins of the parents that fall on the child. It's not the sins, it's the secrets, right? Because doing something that's not correct, forgiveness takes place, compassion takes place. But the energy, you use that word, and that's what it is, that energy of hiding, of protecting. You can't name it. You can't. I tell people it's like this. You have this melody in your head, and you're humming along, but you don't have the words for the song. But as you get older and you're more exposed, and you start to find the words, and you can now say, oh, this was what was happening. When he disappeared, this was that, was that. When mom behaved like this was that, was that. You know, and there's something about being the first child, the first daughter. And I was raised by my dad. My dad was a good dad, first of all, I'll say that, right? My father raised us with respect, dignity, the way we carried ourselves. My dad, I never had any self-doubt or lack of confidence of being a black woman, right? Because my father poured into us. So we came from that, right? But what happened is, because my dad raised me to be responsible as the first child, I then became the caregiver and the caretaker of everybody. Because if chores were given in the house, if it wasn't done, it ended with me. I had to be responsible. I get my licks, I get my grounding, my punishment. And so I became the caregiver and the caretaker for everyone. And by default, I realized now, looking back at it, I tried to take care of my mom and all the pain that she was going through. And so I started to internalize this burden,
that weight
of caregiving, right? And my brother and sister would say, you always try to fix everybody's problems. And I used to get offended. That's what a big sister's supposed to do. Again, I don't want to call it trauma, but that's how the pattern of parenting my father exhibited, right? And my dad's a man of extremes, and I think I take a lot from him. We either this way or we're that way. Because it wasn't peppered, because I took that full responsibility, that carried over, you know? And so I became my mom's greatest champion. Like, I wanted to fight my daddy for my mommy, like how you could, you know? And again, this is something that a lot of young people carry. I know they always talk about the first daughter syndrome. Sometimes it's the only son syndrome. But you can recognize these patterns and behaviors in where you're what they call it, your placement in the family.
Wow. Yeah, so I can see, right, I can see where that is trending, because most of us, and even Odessa, as she's holding the phone with us today, Hey, Dessa.
Hi.
Something to go with her, Dessa. You know, she shared a little bit about that because we had a show with her and her mom and her siblings as well. And she could actually relate to what you're saying as far as taking on the burden for everyone else in the family, her younger siblings. So that is relatable. Definitely something that people can identify with. But we're going to take a quick break, and right after the break, we're going to hear from Katrina and her story. And I mean, I just salute her even now, and we'll share a little bit about that after we're done. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, ladies, because of all this rushing, we are on a break on the radio portion, but we're still live on Facebook. All right. Just wanted to let you know that. So thank you, and of course we have so many questions to cover, and God is good because He still loves us here.
Yes.
Lord, if I could tell you all what's the word I want to use? I could even say warfare. I could actually stand and say this is warfare that took place today, but I don't want to get into all that detail. But we're here. We're grateful. The conversation, and the thing about it is, and as Dr. Kitty says, the when I see the trend, when I see like what is happening, normally in the cases like this, whenever there's a heavy show, there's always some conflict or something that is hindering, or try to hinder the show from proceeding. But we're still here, regardless.
Yes.
That's
Come
powerful.
about like 30 seconds.
30 seconds more. Good. All right. So we're gonna get into just share your story, how you grew up, what was the trauma for you, and then we're getting into where you are now, how you parent, and all that. Okay.
Okay. Ready when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay.
Welcome back. For those who are tuning in, we are talking about parent trauma. We're talking about the things that some of us had to go through or experience when we were children, the way that it impacts us now as adults, and not only as adults, but the way that we parent. All right, we just heard from Dr. Kitty. She was sharing that, hey, she had to carry on the weight, the burden for her mom, particularly because her dad, engaged in. She didn't say the words, so I'm not going to say the words. Her dad was friendly. Now, if she wants to say the words, that's on her. All right, but she said her dad was extra friendly, and it weighed out a lot on the marriage. And, of course, that, of course, allowed her to carry that burden, especially as the first child, and wanting to take sides. How many of you could relate to that? Whenever there's issues with parents, you'd always find the child already trauma. She said it ain't trauma, but it's traumatizing because you have to say whether I can be with mommy or I can be with daddy, because daddy was a good daddy according to Dr. Kitty.
Right.
So it's still traumatizing to me because I wouldn't want to put myself in a situation. Who would I choose? Because I don't want daddy to not like me because I'm holding on to mommy. All right, so let's get to Katrina. I heard a little bit of your story, Charles. I have my napkin ready, and I think that's why Odessa put this here. But we can go regardless. Let's hear from you.
So the first thing I would like to say is that my husband and I, we lead a group called Church of Study Hill. And I would like to say one of the things that we love to bring back is that it's in no way we are trying to condemn our parents or because in all honesty, they didn't have what we have. In all honesty, I know for me personally, the information that I have, the information that I was brought into, they did not have. And if we really, if they are really honest with us and they open up with us, you'll find that our story is their story as well. So I think for me, that is one of the, eventually, one of the things that remind me of why I have to be gracious towards them, because they really don't know. And their parents, it's like literally, it is sin. It is a cycle because it's generational, and you'll find the same pattern, whether it's skip a child, go to the next child, whomever it is. Just how we have generational blessings, you have generational curses. So I'll get back to my story.
I was trying to figure out if she was preaching, but that's a good thing because somebody needed to head out today.
Because I want them to receive, because I don't want anyone to be,
Thinking that you
right. You know, not just with me, but even with their parents, like you, bitterness or animosity or anything like that towards
or
them,
dishonoring
or
them,
dishonoring them, right? So I just wanted to lay that foundation. I appreciate. So, yes, as a child, I was molested. Growing up, I was told not to say anything about it, and I did that, and because of that, no one really talking about it, I had to formulate my own belief systems. So, with that, how that looks. And as I grew up, I got older, me speaking now, I never used to. My voice basically was taken away. That's one of the things that happens as well with people. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, you're an introvert. I thought I was what's the next one? Extrovert. No, I'm not. I learned as I healed, I learned that I wasn't one. So anyway, I grew up very needy, attaching myself to people because of my need of them. It was more if they seems to be like a mother figure. There was a lot of trauma bonding. There was a lot of codependency. There was a lot of, it wasn't more discernment because I was so needy. I misjudged people because I wanted their love. I wanted their acceptance. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be valued. Got married. I think I got married when I was 22 or 23. I can't remember exactly. I have to ask them. He keep counting those things.
He's a good man, Savannah.
Back at that way, for the day, for the third, because that's so anyway, and I struggled in my marriage. One of the things that I struggled with was intimacy in my marriage because of the trauma, because of the way that I saw sex. I saw it the way that it happened during my childhood. So no one really talked to me about that or through that. When I had my daughter, what ended up happening is I really shut down with him. Like I shut down in that regard. Of course, like I said, the marriage, because of a lot of trauma was going on with me, and my wounds really, because of what happened in the childhood, it affected my marriage. So in a lot of ways, mainly for me, I literally would say I became an addict when it came to wanting to be loved. Like I would have done anything for it. So I found myself in a lot of unhealthy friendships or relationship, allowing myself to be manipulated or controlled, not so much from the male, but like I said, it was always someone who I saw as a mother figure because of my need of them. And because of it, I guess, because they are unhealthy, and it's not so much about them, I'm telling my story, because they are unhealthy, they manipulate that and they use that to their advantage. And it was because of what needed to be addressed in me. So basically some of the things that I struggled with, and also affection, I think you mentioned it as well, because that is not something that I heard, or I love you, or hug, or hugs and anything like that. And it did. You are correct when you said about the children, because my daughter, and also with all of that going on that affects her, mainly my daughter.
Hold on, you're going ahead of time. You're going ahead of time.
Okay.
Remember, we only on past.
I can stop
right. But you did answer one of the questions. One of the questions I asked was, what point did you realize that your past was affecting the way you parent your own children?
Yes.
Right, and we see where you're saying that your daughter does not have that affection. She's not as affectionate as, right? And so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But real quick, there was something else that you said, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But when I get back to me, I'll try to remember. But for Dr. Kitiboni, I need to ask you, at what point did you realize that your past was affecting the way that you parent your own children? When did that come in for you?
I think I knew right from the break, but I didn't look at it as a negative. It's almost like an overcorrection, right? So, like I said, secrets were paramount in my house. That was the pattern. So for my children, people are always amazed about the kind of conversations that I have with my daughters. My
Mhm.
daughters can tell me practically everything.
Mhm.
I'll get mad, I'll get a little upset. But I think for the most part, my daughters know they can come to me and then we can have that conversation. We're very open with that.
Yeah.
And I always ask them, any questions? What questions do you have for me? What do you want to know? And so I've always left myself open
Mhm.
and available to that.
Mhm.
It affected me also in a way where I think so somebody said this to me, I never say out. So I'm the kind of person, I can justify everybody's actions.
Okay.
Maybe it's because of who I am
Mhm.
as an empath. Innately, as I was born a healer. I didn't ask for this gift. What made it worse is I went to school and got formal education with all the psychology classes. So there's a label for everything.
Right.
And that's what I did. I moved
Yeah.
through the world, probably extending too much grace
Yeah.
with not enough boundaries.
Mhm.
And so when it came to my children, I probably gave them too much grace and not enough boundaries because my father was so strict and vigilant with me.
Mm.
I probably went the other end and probably gave them I wouldn't say probably, there are instances where they got too much laxity.
Mm.
The other thing too, I would say, and another thing, my dad has a very short fuse, very hot-tempered, very volatile.
Mhm.
Self-regulation was not his thing because he was the head of the house, and if he wanted to roar, and that was it.
Mhm.
And so I recognized that I have a lot of his qualities, and so I was like, girl, you can't let this beast get out. I am a Leo.
Mm.
Right? So we either do this or we do that. Whatever we do, we will put all our passions behind it. So I had to really check myself and work hard on, I didn't even know it was self-regulation at times, just keeping calm.
Mhm.
And so that affected my parenting style as well because I gave my kids a good grace period. Pop off. So I have a 19-year-old. She came
Watch
home.
you pop off.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Mhm.
She came home during the Christmas, and all kids have this conversation. Boy, remember that time when Daddy spanked me or Mommy spanked me? And boy, Mommy, this time you beat me. I was like, I completely forgot that instance, but this is marked in this child. And she could probably hold up one hand and say any times I had to show my love through corporal punishment, right? And which was the reverse because my dad didn't talk. My dad would give you the look, and then he goes at it, right? And it was justified punishment according to him
Right.
because I'd stepped out of bounds. But my father wasn't a talker. I'm a talker.
Mhm.
Why did you do that? How are we going to do this differently? And when I do pop off, it's like I don't give you 10 chances. So you really let's just do this
Yeah,
because
you at the end of the rope now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the ways watching how my my parents impacted me. Now my mom's a talker, a lot of grace. She prays about everything. She's very soft. And I know I didn't listen to her the way I should have. In fact, sometimes I would prefer to spank in from my dad than have me talk to me because I'd be like, oh, Lord, just hit me and stop talking, right? So it was trying to find that delicate balance,
Yes.
right? And I think probably about 80% of the time I got it right. 20% of the time I've had to ask for forgiveness and atone
Wow.
from my daughters, yes.
Wow.
And I have asked, even though I say y'all know y'all deserve that, they know they deserved it, right? But the way I showed it, could I have been a little more gentle? Is there another way of either being either or? What was the happy medium?
Because you told me, like you told us, you were extreme. It's either dead or extremely cold.
But it's
you know what I mean?
unlearning that pattern,
Right,
right?
just
That
trying to get-
self-regulation,
Yeah,
yes. So,
yeah.
and we don't think about it like that because, we love our parents, even when they do the things that are not 100% right. And so it didn't kill us. It may have damaged us psychologically and emotionally, but it didn't kill us. Remember, what doesn't kill you make you stronger or
That's
give
what
you
they say.
psychological damage, right? But as we get older, as we have these conversations, we realize now that was not the best way of doing it,
That's right.
right? And how could I have done it better? How will I do it better now?
Right.
Let me tell you something. I remember what I wanted to say. I know of someone who grew up trying to take or get the love of their parent or their mother in particular, but because their mother was not shown the love, the affection that was due to her when she was growing up, she did not know how to relay that to her daughter.
Right.
And her daughter, similarly, was going into relationships and looking for love. You know, they claim looking for love for all the wrong places. It was literally the wrong places because she was finding it in other men. She was finding it in men and doing things and being promiscuous. She had a tender heart, beautiful, compassionate person, but she wanted that acceptance. In fact, she never knew her father. That's another thing. So it's nothing like not having not being the daddy's girl, okay? But then trying to get your mother's attention and not being able to get that, not being able to accept that, buying gifts for your mother just to show love and then it not being taken or literally accepted.
Right.
So here it is that she's finding love in all the wrong places until she contracted something, all right, that caused her, her death. So she's no longer with us. But it's amazing and I don't mean, because the parent may be listening and tuning in now, so I don't want to condemn.
Right.
But I want to say that this is what happens when we don't understand how to parent efficiently and effectively. There has to be at some point that you realize that, hey, because my mother did it, I don't have to do it.
Right.
Okay? Because my mother, and you should be conscious enough to know that you were doing something like Dr. Kitty said. Look, I knew at some point I was extreme. I had to get to know myself. I had to come to myself and realize, hey, I don't want to be like this. You understand what I'm saying? And so it comes to a point where you see a lot of parents saying, oh my God, my child is either in jail or my child is 6 feet under, simply because you weren't there. Simply because you didn't show up. Simply because you are using the excuse because my mother wasn't there for me, my father wasn't there for me, so I don't know how to do it. This is touchy. So we need to know how to break that. So I'm gonna ask you, Katrina, first. What did you do in the process? Well, how did you heal? I know healing comes with time. I get that. But what were you doing in the meantime when you actually realized or discovered, hey, I don't want to be like, I don't want it. What were you doing as a parent?
I think for me, I would say I'm a Christian, and I'm talking about serving the God with the big G, right? So I think for me, I started to have encounters like through dreams. And in those dreams, like God was saying to me, it's time to heal. But at that time, I was more at like a religious church. And so I didn't want to think like I was crazy but I knew these dreams were real because I knew what was going on with me personally. And I think it took me, and I remember during that season, that time, he was talking to me about breaking chains. So I didn't know anything about breaking cycles or anything like that, but eventually I learned that's what it was about. And I remember it was around Independence, and I went to the silence retreat. And I remember I was reading a book by Cindy Trim, and she asked, because yes, things happen to us. Yes, our parents did a lot of things, but then when you become an adult, it's like the question Jesus asked the man at the pool of Bethesda, do you want to be healed? That wasn't just physical healing, that was also emotional and spiritual healing, being whole. Yes, holistic healing, right? And I think what we don't understand is we have a responsibility when we get older. And that was the question I feel like he was asking me. And the book, Cindy Trim said, could it be things are the way they are because you are the way you are? And at that time I did see it, I was like, oh, something wrong with me. But that's not what he meant. As I got to know him more. I was reintroduced to him through my therapist at the time, which is Dr. Gia. She could say, why you call my name?
No, but you can ask Dr. Gia how much time she been on the show, but why she called your name? She know good and well her name.
She didn't tell me to tell you why.
Exactly. Hi, Gia. Go ahead.
She did. So I knew her as Dr. Gia, and it's the way that she reintroduced love for me, right? It was different from what I've seen before because I didn't know her. And what happened was to me, I felt like I was going around in a loop, like I was going in a circle, in a cycle, and I wanted something different. And through going to therapy with her, I was also introduced to, I remember saying I want to get to know the God because I felt like, because the church I was a part of, like, this can't be the same God who this woman over here. Like, her love, she don't even know me.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt this love, and it made me, and through me being reintroduced to him and coming and into awareness of him and his character and his nature and embracing his love, that is what really, really took me on a journey of healing. And I made up in my mind, I was like, okay, the first decision was I made a decision. Like, like sometimes we be in denial, right? And I made a decision. And then I started my journey with my relationship with him. And as that began to, he began to show me a lot of things that was going on with me in terms of dysfunction. Like, I can need you to cut off this person because this is a lot of codependency and trauma bonding. And I can need you to, and he didn't say it like this, but I knew what it was. And I felt like I was going through a period of detox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was not that the people were bad people, and in the process what I even learned was that they needed healing too.
Yeah.
Hurt
people.
Right, because I was so needy,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see that. All I saw was my need of them. So that's how it started for me. I don't care what nobody say. You could do therapy. Therapy is good, but Jesus is the icing on the cake.
That's it right there. I love that. Dr. Kitiboni, I need to ask you, like, what and how do you navigate parenting when triggers from your past resurface? I know you said, your daddy was a hothead, right? So how do you deal with triggers like that when disciplining or when even in whatever, what's the word I want to use? Just having that time with your children. How do you navigate that?
Well, for the most part, and I don't have angels, but I don't have bad children. There's never been a real instance where I've had to come down very hard on my children, right? Mm-hmm. So navigating it to me it didn't seem like a chore, because I had set the intention very early that I was going to speak to my daughters. I wanted to be able to have to explain to them, right? I have this little thing that we say in the house. I said, I'm no stupid parent, and you ain't that one. So, and I said that to say that you have understanding, you understand what I'm saying. If there's something you want to express, say it to me. You know that you can come to me. So I think that made it very easy navigating my relationship with my daughters. The challenge is when you have outside influences, okay? You would be surprised how much people would envy the relationship you have with your children, the way you love your children, and the way your children love you, and even the way your parents love you, because not everybody was loved in the best way, right? And so when you have somebody that looks at the way you love your child and is envious of that relationship, when you have people saying to you, you too cool with your daughters, like your daughters just say anything to you, and I'm like, but how is that a problem, right? But it's the outside influence of people coming and saying things to my daughters now, right? And you would be surprised, it's family members, it's in your home sometimes, right? Okay. Contentious co-parenting is a serious thing.
You want to go there?
We can go there gently. Like I said, we all come from different backgrounds. So our parents parented us differently. And so I love hard. I loved my daughters hard. I still love my daughters hard, right? But sometimes, like I said, that was taken for being spoiled. My children know their boundaries. Like I tell you, I'm not one to hold back when it's time for discipline. But I realized like that was an issue. Like things were said sometimes. And then the way you love your children sometimes gets thrown back. Oh, your mommy's too controlling. She's trying to tell you what to do. She never listens to what you say. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, but that's the exact opposite. But then when I listen to the person, when I listen to my daughters repeat it, I'm like, this person is speaking from their childhood experience. They weren't loved a particular way. Their parents didn't listen to them. Their parents didn't give them the space to express themselves. Some of them don't even know how to express themselves, right? And so I've taught my daughters how to respect everybody. So if you're an adult, especially if you're the other parent, you respect the other parent,
Yes.
right? And so now you find yourself in this situation where I don't want to say the word fighting, but you're dealing with all of these outside influences whilst you're trying to love your children.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have to decide, where is my energy going to go? How hard do I have to fight? And I hate using that word fight, but I guess that's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to try about what you're still thinking. I want to try on this lightly because I
Go
don't want to
ahead.
get nobody in trouble. Now, you used the term that, hey, that there was a point where you had to choose or decide, who to, what side to go on as far as your parents are concerned.
there wasn't a choice.
Wow, that wasn't a choice.
It wasn't a choice because my situation was a little unique.
Mm.
My mother's not Bahamian. So when my parents got married, where they schooled in England,
Mhm.
my mom came to the Bahamas to live with my dad.
Mhm.
So my dad was my mom's only family member. Then they had me.
Yeah,
So my mom was here by herself.
yeah.
And the nerve of you to bring this woman all the way here and to make her care a child.
Oh no, I know a couple stories for that, but we ain't going with that right now.
So
I know
there was
people
never a
who took people
choice.
from yonder, bring
Right.
them here and roll them out.
There was never a choice. And my mother was a good wife. My
Mhm.
mother's a good wife and a good mother.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So that was never a choice. And maybe the woman in me, my feminine energy in me, I went into full protection mode of my mom. I was my mom's beast. And that probably made the relationship worse between my dad and I, because he was like, how dare you stand up to me now? And that's probably the only thing I ever stood up to my dad with, the way he treated my mom or what he did. And my dad is a provider. So he felt, because he was taking care of
Yeah.
everything else. And she had dealt with this infidelity for so long. Why are you trying to change things up 21 years later? Now you would switch up?
This is what I wanted to ask though, because you saw where you had to, like you said, it wasn't a choice, but
Mhm.
you had to, be by your mom's side.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something that you said, I want to tread on it lightly because I don't want the people know all your business.
Mm-hmm.
That you're co-parenting now.
Right.
Because I see your first and your last name.
Right.
The last name.
One I paid $100 for.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
So how are you dealing now with your children? Because you don't want them to be in a situation where they have to choose either.
So
right?
my children, I never did that with my children.
Okay, so
Never.
that's
So let me so to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that my marriage was not salvageable, right? I made a decision, okay, to save me, I have to release. Throughout the marriage, we had constant bouts of counseling. We had 4 different interventions with 4 different people, 4 different sessions of interventions. So this is not a decision that I just woke up one day and flippantly made, all right? When I decided that, I talked to my daughters and I said, listen, we're about to divorce. I'm moving towards that. And I want us to start going for counseling as a family. Because I wanted somebody else, impartial, educated and trained, to help us transition. So my middle one, she's like, I don't know what we're going to counseling for, because you already made up your mind, you ready to get divorced. I said, yes, but I don't know what I'm doing. This is the first time that I'm going to do this, and I need to make sure that we're okay as we go through this. So my daughters went for counseling. I wish they had had more, but again, outside influences, okay? One of the things my daughter said to me is like, so we got to decide who we're going to live with? And I'm like, that would never be a choice. Because I would never make you pick this or that. Because, for the lack of a better word, again, because you're not a good spouse doesn't mean you're a bad parent.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but there's some things we have to work on, right? Because we're all works in progress. And so I was not, well, I'm full custody, taking my children, you can't see it. That was never it. So I always told my daughters that they didn't have to make a choice. In hindsight, maybe I should have done things a little differently, and where I would have had greater influence, right? Because they are girls, right? And they need to pattern after their mom. And like I said, I was putting things in place to try and give them the support that they needed through professional counseling. Because I'm definitely in my feelings now. I've come to this point where I realize my marriage has failed. I have to deal with that. And then we went through this crisis during, first of all, it was Dorian. My brother's family was in Abaco during Dorian. That was traumatic for me because I couldn't find them for 3 days. Then we went from Dorian, we went into COVID. What was that?
What did I?
I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner. I was flying solo, so that was taxing. You know, and actually it was a few things before that. I'd lost a very close relative. He was like my dad, my brother, my everything. Lost him. Then I went to studying for a doctorate. And so it was like one very heavy psychological toll after the other. Positive things, but nonetheless, it took its toll. And so this is why counseling to me was so important. And I'm glad that, you know, that we can say therapy and there's no taboo, or we don't feel bad, because we can't do it all by ourselves.
No.
You know, yes, you can pray about it, but you still sometimes need professional intervention. Good?
Jesus plus therapy.
Exactly, right? And
so
so trying to create that structure. But again, the most damaging thing was family members that pulled away, and unfortunately, the other parent was damaging to a lot of things. So one of my girlfriends asked me how I handle certain situations, and it's delicate, and I'll tell you this. I love the parables in the Bible. I just love them because they're so applicable 5,000, 3,000 years later. When it comes to my children, right? There's a story of the two mothers that went to bed with their infants next to them, and one woke up dead. And now they take this one child before Solomon. And he says to them, so whose child is it? Both are claiming the child, right? She's both our children. And then he says, well, since you all can't decide, let me cut this child in half. And the true mother yielded. This is how I look at dealing with it. I have to take faith that I've done a lot of foundation work, that my village would help raise and support my child, my children through this. But then I have to now make that decision to yield and let her go through what she has to go through. Let them go through what they have to go through to navigate this without being that back and forth, contentious, fighting, pulling. Well, I didn't say that, he said that. I can't.
So you try to get them out of that between y'all two.
I'm not getting into anything.
Ooh, okay.
Remember now, I've always created that space for my daughters to come to me and ask me questions. And I will always ask them, what do you have to say to me? What do you want to ask me?
So you share with them what's going on?
Every single thing.
Really?
But they have been trained to keep secrets.
Okay.
They don't tell me everything. Sometimes I have to find out things around about, and then I have to say, okay, stay calm, don't blow a fuse. But again, remember, and this is the irony of the situation. The reason why I'm so open is because I grew up with secrets.
Right.
And now here it is again. Right. I've done the work to break the cycle and somehow attracted a partner that thrives in that environment, which is unhealthy. Now, we're all works in progress. We're all maturing. And so I claim maturation. I claim that the bigger picture would be seen, and that understanding that operating in that way is not healthy to our children and to people around us. And so this is when we have to talk about doing the work, creating the awareness, having the conversations, and making steps. And there's no reason to be this way. So calling out the behavior and letting them know, like, you know, this doesn't make sense. Why you didn't tell me this? Why you have to hide this from me? Why am I just finding about this now? And I stopped saying why, because again, they didn't make that decision. And I say, you know, it would have really helped the situation if I had known about this before. If you give me an opportunity to be a part of this, this could have been a little easier. And so this is the like you said, recognizing how I have to reprogram myself, right? Because I'm still in this. But I've yielded to a certain extent. I'm not going to get in the mud. I'm not going to do the tug of war over the kids. Not. They know I love them. They know I'm here for them. And they are going to be mothers someday. And hopefully this experience and the balance between the two will help them be better parents. And I am claiming, I am praying that I'm here to help them parent my next generation.
I hope that they do not take up that heaviness or that burden. Because I don't care what you say, and I said this at the beginning of the show, children are affected and impacted when there is chaos or turmoil between parents, no matter what. But I want to ask you a question, Katrina. What strategies or mindset shifts have helped you become the parent you wish you had growing up? Because I know you said with you, you know, it was about secrets and all these other things that were happening with your family, and your mom didn't want you to share anything. So what mindset have you discovered of set so that you can ensure that your children don't be in that same situation?
Vulnerability and transparency. So Dr. Henry Cloud says that, Dr. Henry Cloud said, this is a doctor, he said that anything without vulnerability is pharisaical. So I'm very transparent in general since healing. And we speak to our kids about everything. Like I tell them about our journey, our marriage. They knows about like literally the good, the bad, and the beautiful part of our marriage. Like we don't, since coming into our healing, both my husband and I, we are very open with them. We have the conversations with them. And because, like I said, we were doing this training called Churches That Heal, one of the things we learned in that training is that we as parents go against the natural order of God when it comes to our children. We have to train them. One of the things he said, they fall to the level of their training. Meaning that whatever we put in them that is what they're going to do in a lot of cases, even though we may not want to admit it as parents, especially when we haven't come into a level of healing. And I know that because I remember my pastor asking my daughter, I think she was about maybe 14 at the time. I don't remember the exact question, but I know it had to do about our marriage. And when she said that, she said she feared us getting a divorce. That was a fear, and she broke. I mean, like, she wept uncontrollably, and that was a fear. And so literally we went back into our marriage from the beginning, and we brought our kids into our trauma and why we need to heal, and not where we went wrong, but what we wasn't aware of as parents. So they know the language about healing and trauma bonding and codependency, and because we're trying to teach them to identify these when they bond and connect with other people as well, because we're not going to be there for them always, and they have to make these decisions for themselves. And so that is one of the things we try our best to be, is very vulnerable and open with them with everything.
I love that. I wanted to say my condolences to you on behalf of your main talk show. Your mom, I know you said that you went through a process with her because she was one that was adamant about keeping what was done to you internal, like secretive, right? I wanted to know, before her passing, of course, have you reconciled with her?
We did. We've been on this journey of healing for a few years now, but in terms of like literally saying to her, I forgive you, and we reconciled and stuff like that.
How heavy was that on you? Like, did you resent her? Were you?
I did have a level of resentment. Yes, I did, and I did have a level of resentment, but through healing, that wasn't easy. Like, it wasn't easy, like coming to acceptance, that especially when you come into truth, and I'm talking about the word of God. When you come into truth, you can't deny what it is. This way God says to go, this is the path, and you have to forgive and you have to release. And what I found is, eventually, as I continue to take steps, the more steps I took towards my healing, I was able to forgive and release, but also my support, like our church community, my pastor, like I say, Dr. Gia, they were very, very supportive. And one of the things,
she liked to go ahead and take my questions, so when it's time for me to ask something else, she can answer it. All right, because one of the questions I wanted to ask is what support system she have, but I love it. I love the fact that she's going ahead. Continue, darling.
Yes. So my support, like healthy, safe support. I listen. One of the things Dr. Henry Cloud said in the video was, don't go to idiots.
No.
You can't, because the only thing they could do is feed your wound.
Yeah.
Those ones who feed your wound and tell you what you want to hear, no. So I had to learn that, because that's what I did. Like, I went to people who, would feed my wound and make me feel like I have a right to be bitter.
Mm-hmm.
I have a right to feel this way. And I do have to a certain degree. But when you come into a relationship with Jesus, what you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It's a process, but you have to release eventually,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I think that's what was able, the transformation as it pertains to reconcile with her and everything like that. Even like now, like, you know, like caring for her, like it was so easy and it was beautiful, and her relationship with God, and, you know, just seeing her worship and stuff like that's what has me, give me the strength, a part of what gave me the strength to come on this call, because I knew that before she transitioned, she was able to break some cycles.
I love that. I love that. And the fact that she broke it and you're breaking it, so you don't have to see it.
Right, because my kids, they're not gonna.
I love that.
Yes.
Dr. Kitiboni, were you resentful towards your dad at any point?
Yeah, I was. And he earned it, right?
Oh, Lord.
No, he did. He was very intentional with what he did. Outside of the fact of what he did to my mom. When my mom decided that she was going to divorce my dad, I had just started my mom made the decision my first semester when I was in university in Florida. And when I came home, my dad said, well, you're going to divorce me. If I don't have any wife, I don't have no children. Right? And my father stopped supporting me in my university year. So I made 2 more semesters in Florida. And then I came home, and by hard work and favor, I was able to get a scholarship to go to Jamaica to do further my training. And so imagine growing up with a father that did absolutely everything for you and then just flipped. So I was abandoned by my dad. And I didn't do anything. You were there. You had multiple relationships. You had a relationship with 2 children. Well, not with the 2 children, but brought 2 children into the world. And this is an active family, and you upset that my mom makes this decision, you know? And I was so angry. I was hurt for my mom, and then I was hurt for me. Why are you punishing me, you know? And it took us probably about almost 15, 16 years. I remember a family friend died. And I said to my dad, I called him after I left the funeral, and I said, Daddy, you know, Auntie so-and-so passed away. And I really don't want to be, the next time we have a conversation, for us to be at a funeral. And he's like, well, I love you. You know I love you. And I was like, okay. So I extended the olive branch because I knew what my dad's love was. And people always tell me, you know, you're your dad's favorite child. I said, my daddy abandoned me. Like, I did nothing to him. But I extended that branch. And I think I got really, really passionate about rekindling my relationship with my dad as my daughter, my eldest, started to become a teenager. Because then I was sitting down having these conversations with myself. What if I do something to hurt her the way my dad hurt me, and she hated me the way I hated my dad? I couldn't live with that. I never wanted to live with that pain and that hurt of having any child feel the way I felt about my dad. I don't think I would do anything to that extreme, but then everybody's different. And so that really helped me forgive my dad a whole lot more. Now,
at what point have you come to a point of reconciliation?
Oh, we're completely reconciled.
Yeah.
Completely, you know? And it wasn't hard because I'm not somebody who hates. I'm not hating that take effort.
Yeah, that heavy.
That takes so much work. I love to love. Everybody deserves love. That's the kind of person I am. So for me to decide that to put boundaries, well, that wasn't just a boundary, like I was so angry at him because one of the things my dad told me when I was younger, he said, never let a man feed you, because if a man feeds you, he owns you, right? And so And he said that because I remember coming home, this guy had bought me lunch for fun day. And I guess my dad, in his way, and this is so important because in his pattern, that if you pay the bills, then you could dictate what happens. And when I look back at my parents' life, my dad felt because he's paying all the bills, he could do whatever he wants. So I understood that. But then what he did is he actioned that statement by withdrawing his financial support and his love support from me when my mother decided she didn't want to continue with the relationship. Right?
That's a mindset.
And I didn't realize how much that impacted me.
Yes.
And so I took that into my relationships with men, that I was trying to be as hyper independent as possible, because if you decide that you're going to withhold, I'm going to be okay. And
Y'all see it? You see the pattern?
but this is it, right? And I didn't realize this still almost to the end of my marriage, because I'm trying to figure out how I get here. Like, and when we did the counseling sessions and they're like asking us who does what in the relationship, and I'm like, and so I realized that I was exhibiting patterns that were learned subconsciously, unconsciously, and this is how it was manifesting. And so my middle child comes home and she says, "Boy, mommy, this guy want to take me out to date." And she's a sophomore in college now, so this is not a teeny bopper. And she's like, "But I don't go because I don't want to buy me that." I said, "Girl, if you don't let that young man take you out, but he invited you, enjoy the evening." Okay? Because me at that age would, no, that's okay. And it's unlearning these behaviors, creating a healthy rhythm in the relationship.
It also shows that your husband had a left. Someone taught him that. If no one taught him it, he learned it himself. Because he isn't gonna naturally just think because someone buy you food, or he saw that.
No, my dad.
No, her dad.
My dad.
That was her dad.
Your dad. That's
my
what
dad.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
He saw it.
But my dad did it. He actioned it. Like I said, my father was a fabulous provider.
Not your father.
Right.
Your father saw that. For him to just have that in his head, to believe that, or he used that as a protection.
Well, it'll go back to my grandfather, who left to go on the contract.
Right. And it goes back
and
to
he was quite friendly.
Right.
And so he figured, whenever he had money, he could do whatever he wants. So my father took that.
Let me pause for a second, because I have to share this, because I know there's so much to talk about and we have limited time. But for a woman who is listening in and tuning in, a wife particularly who's listening in and tuning in, yes, we have different ways that our parents taught us. We know about tradition, we know about culture, we know about all these other things. If you want to keep because there's a lot of ways to keep your marriage, of course, and I know it takes two. However, for the woman's point of view, or wife's point of view, if you grew up in the same situation as Dr. Kitiboni stated, your parents may have said, "Oh, you need to be independent, you need to have this, you need to keep this," or whatever have you. Understand that if not all, most men would want a feminine woman, someone who they could say, okay, well, and I have to tread on this lightly, who can be honorable to him, okay, respectful to him, to make him feel as if he is doing something. You understand what I'm saying? So when you have that independent type demeanor, that I have it all together, you don't need to tell me nothing or whatever, that's almost like that spirit of rebellion and that Jezebel spirit, for those who know about the spiritual aspects of things, coming in and creeping into your marriage, what can create havoc or cause havoc in your marriage as well. So if this is something, especially if you are a believer, that you are struggling with, all right, first of all, you got to break that generational thing. That thought process has to go, that mindset has to go, and step into the feminine person that God has created you to be, all right, being able to be, I have to use this word properly, honorable. Some people don't like the word submissive. That's why I have to be careful how I'm saying this. But you want to be able to honor him, all right? And one of that is, of course, knowing that, hey, that there are certain responsibilities that men have. There are certain responsibilities that women have. Whatever it is that you do inside your household, just ensure that he feels as if that he is, you see how I call your husband the king? That he is king. And not everyone will understand that, because that ain't for everybody. For those who are believers, or those who know, the concept of having to honor your husband, be mindful that it's not about, oh, this is my things and just how I'm making this, and I ain't gonna let nobody try to take that from me because I have my own money and all this other stuff. If you get what I'm trying to say, that independence thing has its place.
But
Okay.
I have a different or slightly different perspective on that as well. You see, one of the things about being a strong man, a leader, a provider, is that you have to come with that. A lot of our men have been raised to be taken care of. Good?
I got you.
All right. So there are relationships where you never have to question. And see, and I'm very sensitive to this, and I will use the word sensitive because I keep saying that women aren't feminine. The woman, she's feminine. And it's not that she's being masculine. She's taking on more responsibilities than she has to because the partner is not stepping in to take his oftentimes. And there's a challenge. Women, we have to let them know that there's certain qualities that they need to look for in their partners. Being hyper independent sometimes is a survival response. Mm-hmm. But when you partner, if you have the right partner, you can step out of that survival. Because if you're doing it by yourself, you're doing it by yourself. But when you say you're partnering with somebody and you still pull in that one's load, that unequally yoked, that is what it is. And it's not submitting, it's the energy. Because if she doesn't feel safe enough to yield, or she doesn't feel like this is a space where she can now, and I don't even want to say her because we put still a lot on the woman. If the man doesn't step up and create that atmosphere that I've got you, that I'm here for you, we're moving in tandem, we're moving side by side, that's a serious thing. And then the other thing that we have to give attention to, and in our culture, you hear the thing is, girl, marriage ain't easy. It takes a lot of work. And so you grow up hearing that, so you believe it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a lot of work. When it doesn't necessarily have to be. It does take commitment and intention, but it shouldn't be hard work. And a hard-working marriage is a sign that we need to fix some things. And then there's the other thing where you have to give up your rights for his wrongs. When you speak with a lot of women who are going through difficult marriages or who have divorced, they will tell you that these are a lot of the mantras that hold them in this situation far longer than they should be. They don't objectively look at the situation that they're in. They don't remove themselves from the situation. Because also remember now, I come from a marriage where my mother stayed far longer than she should have. And I probably might have stayed the same length of time, right? Because we're conditioned to stick and stay. So in as much as the woman being independent, there's a reason why. If she's working hard, there's a reason why. Why, when I have a partner? Why were things so challenging? Why couldn't I shift into neutral? Perhaps because the other person wasn't shifting where they should have been shifting.
I get that. I get what you're saying. Even though we don't want to go there because we're talking about relationships and then we get into parents. Mm-hmm. But in some cases, the reason why I disagree is no matter what the excuse is. I mean, if you are a believer and you understand the Bible and the concept and the hierarchy of the concept of the Bible, then you would know that, hey, even if he is not in position, that don't excuse you from doing your role. That doesn't excuse you from being that wife who God has called you to be. So if there is, and I'm referring now, there's two types of people now. So if you don't believe the concept of the Bible, like I understand that's fine. I'm referring to the ones who understand the concept of what the Word of God says. No matter what, you understand and say you are honorable to your husband, regardless of what his position is or where he is not in that particular position at that time.
Because it is about respect, respecting your husband, which is really honor, and then the husband is submitting, to the wife. I mean, loving the wife like Christ loved the church. And I think one of the things we learn is that innate in us, we know that. That's why David says, I learned to trust you at my mother's breast. Innate in us is we have the capacity to trust. And that's your husband or whomever. However, because of the trauma and the things that happen in our lives, we struggle to trust people, whether it's your husband or people in general or your wife. And I know for me and my husband, in terms of our journey, both of us had to learn. Healing is so important. I could have never come into a new relationship with God. I'm talking about intentionality, not this religious thing where you go in the church on Sunday and say you're saved, but there's no intimacy. Because I know for a fact, when it comes to me and my husband, God said to me, He's reclaiming intimacy in our marriage. And it's and for me to even see that, when we got married, we didn't even understand the biblical understanding of marriage. Most people get married today and they don't understand themselves what it really means. And I know that for a fact. Most people. And that is why what we have now isn't something that we did on our own. We had to have done it with God and with Holy Spirit and with the people He assigned in our lives. So I do get, you have to, and I had to learn that. I had to learn it because of my trauma. It was difficult for me to respect and honor my husband and love him. Yeah. And vice versa for him because of what he been through. And it was difficult for him to, like, adorn me or see me or not see, because a lot of men of this, when they think about the submission part with with their wives and stuff, they have this that unhealthy submitting. Oh, the Bible say you're supposed to. No, that's not. So I think it goes back to.
Or you abusing and you don't want to
abuse
it.
Right. And you know what happens? You know what makes why we connect, because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and he's doing. So it's so easy, So like with she, so it's easy, and it's because both of us understand our role and why God's intention for marriage. But that's a different story.
Beautiful. You see how we done? I don't know how we switched like this. But what Dr. Kitiboni is saying is true, as far as saying there are times when someone is off balance, someone's not doing what they're supposed to. But at the end of the day, I have to put it in the end of the day, as a wife, you still do what the Word of God says. No matter, let God deal with him for himself. That's between him and God. You don't have a heaven or hell to put him in. That's basically what I wanted to say. Because let's get back to parent real quick, because we actually wrapping up.
It's all patterning though.
It's all patterning. I see that. I
see that.
Because even when you said with your ex-husband, the things that he probably would have been through as well, and the information that was imparted to him, he know nothing else but whatever it is that he learned is what he's given or what he gave you.
Exactly.
It's a guarantee.
Exactly.
When we did, this is a part of the session, the first thing Dr. Henry Cloud said, who in you have issues? Remember? One woman said, most person raised their hand, one woman said she didn't have no issues. So what he told her,
it's like, you're doing very well, we see. Well, you need to teach it. Tell us how to get like that. No issues.
As long as you have this navel right here, and we are born in the Adam family. That's what he said. As long as you have this navel here, and we didn't come in on earth like Adam and Eve. They were formed, and they were made. We were born. We have issues. We have the birthplace of disappointment, right? What happened in the Garden of Eden. And then we had issues put on us to our family. So everyone, every person, I don't care who they are, I don't care what they say, I don't care if they sweat color, I don't care if they name prophetess or prophet, they got issues. Because we go from glory to glory, healing to healing. Same thing.
I agree with you. Now, as we wrap up, let me ask Dr. Kitiboni first. So what advice do you have for parents who are struggling with resentment or unforgiveness toward their own parents? That's my first question to you. So let's have that first, and then I'll give you the other one.
What advice? Who is struggling with resentment?
Who are struggling with resentment or unforgiveness toward their own parents? These are also parents.
Yeah, no. So the first thing I would say is just sit with it. What you're experiencing is what you're experiencing. I think many of us experience it, and then we have this guilt or this self-hate for feeling that way, and remove that. Don't feel guilty, and don't hate yourself for feeling that way. Understand that this is what I'm feeling at this exact moment. Write it out. Get it out, because we keep a lot of things in our head. We don't process it properly. Sit with it, acknowledge it for what it is, write it out, and then decide, what do I want from this? So whenever I step into a space, I want it to be happy, harmonious, and healing.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, I don't want to go in energy that's dark and heavy. And especially if you're a parent, don't hold on to that. Or try, let me change the way I say that. Work on releasing it, right? Because it's a process. Because we still all have those little areas where we still hurt. But set the intention. Yes, you've been wronged. Yes, you didn't like what happened. You're holding on to this thing. I'm not saying you're not supposed to feel what you're supposed to feel, but what next? Do you want to be healed? Do you want this to be a healing situation? Do you want to be happier? Because remember, now you have this next generation.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So we want to make sure that we start to emulate and create the right energy so it trickles into this next generation, that we won't have to feel guilty for sabotaging or messing up. So that's my basic advice. Next step, after you start writing out, you realize that sometimes it's not even about your parents. It's about you, right? And we talk about, I have to reparent the child in me.
Yeah.
What did I want? How would I wanted things to be different? And then now you take that and you do that with your children. And then we are not where we need to be, and we might need a little help. So ask around to who's a good counselor that you could sit with to help you unpack these things. The person who will take you out of the picture frame so you could see the whole thing from another perspective. Because I will tell you, the sessions that I have had with my counselor, I'm just like, ooh, okay. And it might just be 2 words. And I just see things from a different perspective. And then I have to stop beating myself like, how I didn't see that. Why did I allow that to go on for so long? But when you're in the middle of the picture, you can't see. And so you need to have the space, and you need to have the session with somebody who can help you remove yourself, to have a very holistic, a very non-biased view. Because if you're in the picture, it's me, I, you. But holistically, what does this dynamic look like? And that starts to give us grace, and that will give us the self-compassion that we need.
I love that. I love that advice. I love that. But we're going to add on to that. Well, let me ask her that same question. I'm going to ask you another question. What would you say to someone who is struggling with unforgiveness? I was going to ask you something else, but I'm going to use that same one. What advice would you have for parents who are struggling with resentment or unforgiveness toward their own parents?
So, I would say, as my relationship with my mom healed, I learned a powerful lesson about forgiveness, restoration, and the beauty of God's redemption. And that is to start with surrender, not perfection. And what I mean by that is healing. Healing doesn't start with waiting for the other person to change. It starts with you surrendering your heart to God. And I think that was the first thing I had to do. And in surrendering your heart to God is only the first step, That's just the first step, because there's a process. Because He's going to ask you to do certain things and not to do certain things. And that's when I literally realized that all that time, my heart wasn't really surrendered to God. Because even with my husband, he was like, invite him to church. Because like I said, it's a lot with, even how God restored my relationship, with my mom, and the way it is now. Like it wasn't, the abundance that come with that also was like a part of with the healing in my marriage. So many other things that you would like in relationally, even the relationships, healthy relationships, you would attract them. But start with surrender. And surrender is not you saying, oh, they need to forgive me first. God knows just how serious we are. When He says, go and say to that person, even though they did you wrong. Because we the ones who say we saved. We say we like our daddy, Jesus. So we got to do what He does.
I love that. So it's just getting that forgiveness and working on yourself and ensuring that you, are the one that get it together.
Yes.
You know, your heart cleansed,
Mhm.
right? It's amazing because, you know, whenever that heart is cleansed, then the flow comes. Because if you have that unforgiveness or that barrier, you can't cross the flow. Like there's this blockage right here that there's no flow. The Bible says if you regard iniquity in your heart, God will not hear you. So all that abundance and all that blessing and all that is just clogged up
Right
right
there.
there because you don't know how to do this. Let it go. Open up. And when you let it go and you forgive, that floodgates start pouring. Forgiveness is just one of the many, but forgiveness, that unforgiveness holds, that comes literally physically on you when you harbor the pain and the hurt and resentment in your heart. It burdens you. I think they say go down to your back and all. You know what I mean? It causes you to hump over and you see people wonder if they have some unforgiveness in them. Right? Nah, that's just what they say. I know. She is the doctor, the physiotherapist.
No, but it is.
It's
We
true.
manifest. That's why we call it the mind-body connection.
Come
And
on.
I've sat with many patients that we can't find a physiological cause of this pain, right?
Yeah.
There's no mechanism of injury. So when you walk into my clinic, on the form it says, do you have any anxiety? Do you have any depression? Do you have any stress? And they look at me, why you ask? Because I need to know what's impacting you, right? And it's not in your head. We are designed to be a holistic being. And so when you have thoughts that sit and stay and resonate, they manifest. There are people that have done the work. I'm a strong follower of Louise Hay. You can heal yourself, the body. That she has a table that shows you where certain emotions manifest.
Is designed.
There's another
to heal
book,
them.
The Body Heals the Score, keeps the score. That's another scientific knowledge. We know that chronic diseases, chronic inflammation, cancers, these things we can attribute to the fact that we're holding on. And this is why it's so important for me to release, because there's a lot of hurt. And imagine sitting in a room and when you have people in the room and they start to talk to you and you get to hear their stories of how they handle their children and what they went through, then it gets heavy on me.
Yes.
But I've been gifted that story to use it to help somebody else and definitely to help myself. But people tell you more, and then you realize as they start to talk, certain things disappear. And they will tell me, Doc, I come in here to heal my body, but you heal in my mind at the same time. Again, this is why I said it's so important to just stop. Create the space to process what you're going through, and that's the beginning of the healing process.
Listen, all science does is prove God. That's all it does. Because what she's saying, it's biblical in terms of unforgiveness and what it does. And when he's out of us flows, you know, the Bible says out of us flows the issues of life.
Guard your heart.
So we have to
Out of us
guard
flows
our
the
heart,
issues of
right? Like literally. I'm a teacher, so sometimes when I'm reading, because we use the Becker curriculum, so I'm like, I be reading them, reading comprehension science, and I be like, all science when it's proven, that word, okay.
Guess what? We are going to wrap up on the radio portion, but of course we're going to stay a little bit longer on Facebook. So real quick, I would like to say, if you want to hear them, go to Your Lane Life Coaching's Facebook page, Your Lane Life Coaching's Facebook page, because we do have a few more questions to ask. Next week's show, we're going to talk about the hair and skin, okay? We got to know what's going on. Of course, one of our sponsors is Fabulous Ronnie, and of course, she's going to be talking about alopecia, because she's going to be talking about dandruff and all these other dermatitis and stuff from our esthetician. They coming on board and they want to ensure that you get to love the skin that you are in. So of course the show is about the physical, the spiritual, the mental, everything. All right, so you want to be on board with us for next week. All right, as the founder of Your Lane Life Coaching, I'm here to help you build stronger purpose-driven relationships, whether you're single, dating, married, or rebuilding. I'll guide you through effective communication, deeper connections, and aligning with God's purpose. Ready to take the step? Give us a call at 1-242-376-8689 today, or you could visit the website www.yourlanelifecoaching.com. All right, I want to thank all of our sponsors: John Schuster and Accessories, Emmanuel Medical Center, DQ Bahamas, Lysol Disinfectant, Airwick, Del Monte, Fabulous Ronnie Hair and Restoration Clinic, already said Yolene. I said Yolene Life Coaching. Yes. And DQ Bahamas, if I didn't say it again, because I mixed this right up. All right. So special thank you to Chris for holding it down for Beats today. Thank you. I hope it wasn't a heavy task for you. I hope you didn't stress yourself out too much. All right. But thank you for taking the time out this Sunday just to help us. Now, we little off, but we still made it happen.
Yeah.
Somebody was still healed from what Dr. Kitiboni said. Someone was still healed from what Katrina said, and I know for a fact that it doesn't really start with just saying, okay, I have this issue and just leaving it like that. As Dr. Kitiboni said, and even as Katrina said, it starts with, first of all, analyzing yourself to realize, hey, I have a problem. Okay, analyzing yourself to realize that, hey, I want to be able to fix this, and these are some of the things that I have going on myself. And of course, learning, first of all, how to forgive yourself, and then learning how to forgive the offender. All right, so we're going to close there. And to the businesses out there, if you wish to sponsor your Lane Talk Show, give us a call, 376-8689. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Dr. Kitiboni, for being a part of your Lane Talk Show and for being so transparent. So I pray that you were all empowered, educated, and encouraged today. And until next time, have a happy Sunday and blessings to you all.
Okay.
All right, so Facebook, thank you for tuning in and thank you for still staying with us because we still have a few questions for Doc and we still have a few questions for Katrina. So real quick, I want to ask, right, because y'all talk about so much different things. And one of the things I wanted to know is, what would you say to someone who was afraid that their past trauma makes them unfit to be a good parent? All right, someone who's afraid to parent. You know, you have that couple who just got their child and don't know, like, oh my God, I hope I don't be like daddy. I hope I don't be like mommy. What advice would you give them?
Me first?
Yes.
Well, the first thing I would say is that's okay to feel that way, right? Because we're learning as we go. They always say there's no manual for parenting. Well, I guess now we could change that a little bit because there are a lot of good books out there. There's a lot of good research out there. So just start asking the right questions. You know, we talk about social media sometimes as a negative thing, but try and find professionals who have social media pages, Instagram. There are quite a few that I follow on parenting because I still need the help,
Of course.
right? And so I would say start with that and then find somebody in your community, in your village, whether it's in your church home, whether it's in a civil organization that you have, that you admire their parenting skills, and ask them for help. Spend time with them, do play dates with them and see how they operate with their children because we are all learning. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for growing. And I know we tend to use this word, abuse this word now, but give yourself grace. We have to abuse it because we haven't done it. We've been so hard on ourselves and everybody else around us that we don't realize that we just need to relax a little bit and just go with the flow.
I love that. I love that. So find a village,
Yes.
find support,
Find
find a community, you know,
healthy examples.
healthy, that
Yes.
helps, right? Right? Read books, find resources that can help, right? Katrina, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with what she said. I also, you know, like, if you don't have a relationship with God, I would say cultivate your relationship with God. Because one of the things that I know for a fact, one of the things that I know for a fact is that the reason why I was in a lot of unhealthy relationships or not having the awareness in terms of going after like healthy healing is because I didn't, even though I was saying I was saved, I didn't really know God. I didn't know his character. I didn't know his nature. I think I know how to quote his word, but I didn't have a revelation of his word. So a lot of times you're not able to identify certain things because it's not in you, you know. So I think for a fact, the first thing you have to do is, that's why you have to surrender to God. And in that surrendering process, like I said, that's only just the beginning. You know, there will be layers where you're having encounters with him, and he is reintroducing you to so much, and at the same time he is opening your eyes. Because one of the things that happened for me is my eyes was open. It's on, even though it's open physically, but I think my eyes was open spiritually as well. And that only can happen if you know God, because people will tell you anything, but when you don't know that word and when you don't know God, you are not able to even identify when something is dysfunctional, when there's trauma bonding, when you are, doing all of these unhealthy things. So I would say get to know God intimately. Yes.
Thank you. Doc,
Hi.
if you could go back and give advice to your younger self as a mother, what would you say? What would you say to little Kitiboni?
The first thing I would have probably done was do just what I just said. Look for people that I could lean into and have those conversations with. We've done leaps and bounds in making information more accessible and more available. So I would have definitely tried to find better resources for parenting. And I think in the last 5 years, we've seen this evolution of language, evolution of accessibility of knowledge. Now, we do have to sift through and see which one is more aligned, more
values.
More right. But definitely that. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I think that's the strongest thing right there. I had a good village. I have a good village. But I think probably the parent in me, the child in me needed to be parented a little bit more, right? While she was parenting. I think what I did is I focused so much on being a parent, I forgot to be me to me, right? And I wanted to show up for everybody else that I didn't show up for myself. And it took a crisis moment to realize how much I had neglected myself and how much I wasn't taking care of me. I was doing the superficial stuff, but I wasn't attending to my spirit and to my soul. And that made me operate from a place of lack. So even though I was a very good mom and I did what I could do, I could have been so much better if I was taking care of me. And the interesting thing with that, as we talk about patterning, is sometimes as parents, we take care of the children so well, we don't show them how to take care of us. And so when we need them to step into that space, they don't know how to do it because we never gave them opportunities, because we're so busy giving, we never received. So that's what I would do differently.
I love that. I love that. So I'm going to ask that same question to you. If you could go back and give advice to your younger self as a mother, what would you say? And then what would you say to yourself as the daughter? So the mother part of you, the younger version of you being a mother, and then you as a daughter. You understand?
Yeah, I would. I just think it. I would say, don't allow. As a mother, you have the responsibility to steward. God give you the responsibility to take care of these kids, whether it's a girl or a boy, and don't allow no one to. Doesn't matter who they are, whether it's family, whether it's in the church civic group, whatever it is, or even allow yourself, because of shame or because of your, sometimes it's because of success, you allow people to muzzle your voice or take away, or make you basically become silent towards what you need to speak up against, even if it means you have to speak up by yourself, even if it means to defend your child or to protect your child. I think that is something I would say to a lot of mothers, to speak up for your children, because in speaking up, you are saying to them, it is not okay. Whatever happened is not okay. And it also, in you doing that, they will know how to speak up. Because I think a lot of times as parents, we do teach our children to be silent. And sometimes children are confused, because if Miss Coach Trish is safe to my mother, but she's the person molesting me, I'm not, and because most of the times with certain things that is happening, when you come, it's usually a family member, someone the person trusts, and then they'll say, like I saw a case on the news this morning where the mother said she didn't believe the child. So I would say, don't never tell your child Your daddy won't do that. You investigate that first. And then, of course, you use wisdom. Because I'm not saying that children don't tell little lies at times. Okay? But that's what I think you should do. Don't never ever dismiss when your child is saying, pay attention. Pay attention to certain things where they feel you know them to be someone who is always talking, but when you reach around certain persons, they're a bit silent or a bit anxious or nervous, you know. So be more vigilant and alert because you are their greatest armor bearers.
The Bible says, train up a child in the way she should go. And when they grow up, they won't depart from it, right? So we want to be mindful of that. That in itself tells you whatever it is that you impart in your child when they are younger, they are going to carry that out regardless, no matter what. And the only way that can be broken is if you spiritually break it, because you can't physically do that. All right? So what I would advise for each person who is tuning in to today is to do a self evaluation, okay? Retrospect, reflect, whatever term you want to use, all right? Be still, as Doc said, you know, and find out where you are as a parent. Find out where you are. Find out if it is some past hurts that you may have had from your parent, your upbringing. See if you can deal with that, okay? Because it's never too late. You can have an adult child right now, okay? And there are some things that, and this is factual because I get clients like this all the time, that children are still waiting to hear, I'm sorry. There are children who are still waiting to hear, I didn't mean to. But guess what? What happens when your parents don't say, I'm sorry? That don't mean you hold on to it. That doesn't mean that you keep that in. Because as we've already shared, when you, as you hold those things in, it manifests physically. Not only that, but it carries on. It transfers from you to your children and to your children's children unless somebody breaks it. Unforgiveness is a stronghold. Okay, meaning that it's almost like let me give you an example. Having a ball and chain to your ankles and you're unable to fly or feel free because you're being held down. Why? Because of unforgiveness. That's how heavy unforgiveness is. Yes. So let it go. If you're having problems with that, Jesus. I know some people who parents in 6 feet under and they still holding on to grudges and still holding on to things. Let it go. Release it. Even after the show, take a moment and release it. Some of us don't know how to. If you know God, look, he said your burdens are maybe heavy to him, but they're not to him. To you, but they're not to him. His burdens and stuff that he's exchanging to you are very light. So whatever heaviness that may be going on with you right now because of what your parents did, let it go. And I want to flip the script a little bit as well. What about those parents who have children who have hurt them?
Yeah.
Okay? Same applies. Let it go. Okay? Everyone is going to be held accountable for their own judgment. Every single thing that they say, the words that they say, their actions, God is going to judge them accordingly. But as far as you're concerned, you are only responsible for you at this moment, especially as an adult. After you felt as if you've already done your part, parenting, raising them up, and they go astray and they still betray you, you release it. But you still love. Love covers a multitude of sins. Love heals. Love could put coals on somebody's head, whether you're the parent or the child. You could literally, I'm trying to find a way to say this. By you loving them, you could literally transform their hearts. Mm-hmm. You do your part and allow God to do the rest. Yes. Cast your cares on God because he cares for you. I have to share that. I have to tell you that heaviness has to go. What about the condemnation and the conviction for those who's... thank you, Holy Spirit. You may have done wrong to your children in the past. And in some cases, it may be too late. Because like a situation I told you, that the child is now 6 feet under. But there are ways to make it right. The child may have left a child. You could redeem yourself through the child or the grandchild. You could help somebody else, a neighbor's child, someone in church, your aunt, your nieces, your nephews. Okay, after you've already released it now, because you know that could be a little strong, but there is no condemnation in Christ Jesus. Okay, after you've released it, after you've repented, try to help somebody else. It helps with healing. So you're not there on your own. You're not just holding that and watch out for the enemy who likes to put things in your mind and make you feel guilty. You shouldn't have to feel guilty or condemned in any way if you've already released it and asked God to forgive you. Because your sin's already in the seas of forgetfulness. So anything else after what God done do, that's the enemy. So you have to get rid of it. So I hope we were able to help with healing today. That was my prayer. When this idea came upon me from January, and I saw a post from Dr. Kitiboni, I can't even remember what the post is, but I remember reaching out to her because I know this is something that will help with healing. I pray that you will all, at some point, if we had just put the seed in there, and somebody else might water it. But at least that seed was there to say, hey, I have to let it go. That seed was there, like, Mother, I wonder why I keep on having this pain in my left or this, my back hump over. I wonder why all these different things not working out for me. I'm not receiving favor. I wonder why every time I pray into God and I'm not getting my prayers answered. That's because you're still holding on to something. Let it go. Today be the day. Promise yourself, this day is the day that I release. It's the day that I repent and then I release. What is in the past is in the past and nothing you can do with that. That's why they call it past.
And only God could redeem.
And only, listen to me. So when you go into now, you go into saying, look, I can make things better after I've already repented, after I've already cast my burdens onto God. Now I could go and do better. I could help somebody else. I could impart whatever it is that I've gained or learned into somebody else. I could be kind to somebody else. I could show love. Let there be no excuses that you cannot love. If you don't know how to love, hold on to what's the word I want to use? Who God is. He's the epitome of love. Ask him to teach you how to love. I'm still doing that. Y'all didn't even get to hear my story. Okay? I am asking God to teach me how to love my 3 children, and they're very young.
Right.
Okay? I shout out to my mommy. I love her. My mom, and she may be tuning in now, but we started to have a bond, I think probably a little after I got married. But before that, my mommy's situation was work. Work. And I couldn't blame her, and I can't blame her because she was trying to be the provider. All right? Many times, and I'm not throwing this in her face, but many times I was left, the cares of my aunts and my Grammy and Annie them ain't on your run. Annie didn't have a man, and Grammy going to church. Okay? I used to sleep by my cousins and stuff like that, and that's where all the little, y'all thank God for Jesus. Because my first clubbing experiences at the age, I was in grade 9, that summer going into 10th grade, been in the zoo. Mommy, you just heard me this say. Sorry. Okay? Because I was out and about because mommy was working.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of resentment towards her because of that as well back then.
Right.
But I love and I understand that she had to do what she had to do to ensure that I got what I needed. God is good. And guess what? In the midst of all of that, she still taught me how to pray. Psalm 23 was one of the scriptures she taught me, and that psalm took me through a lot of garbage. A lot of when I thought I would have been dead. That's the only thing I knew when I quoted it, and it got me out.
Right. The word is the word.
So I just wanted to share that. I pray that you were all encouraged, educated, and empowered today. These were magnificent women. And I give God thanks for y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. You said you wanted to say something real quick. 2 seconds, and I'm going to close out if that's okay.
2 seconds. 2 seconds. So, I wanted to say, when she mentioned about the bonding, one of the things we learned that when a baby is born, if it's only fed and watered and there's no bonding with, no love, you could feel, and in our culture we do that. We believe because we're taking care of the children, we feeding them, then
That's
what
all
you
they
mean
need.
I don't love you, that's all they need.
Mhm.
No, scientifically, in the word, it says we need to be bonded with. And when we are not bonded with, which means when we are not loved correctly, not this way we love in our culture, the baby develops something called failure to thrive. And it's the same thing with us. And that's where our attachment styles are developed. And for most of us, our attachment style is not secure attachment. It's either, I think it's avoidant. All I know is the other ones are bad attachment style. They're not healthy.
Mhm.
Let me put it like that. So one of the things I think we need to do as parents, if you are listening, is go and research the different attachment styles and why the secure attachment is so necessary as it pertains to how you nurture and care for your kids.
I love that. And another thing to research too is love languages.
Yes.
To know how to, because every child is different. My 3 are completely different. What one would like, the other one ain't on my run. And into that, don't do. Listen, you could keep that to yourself. All right? They have 3 different love languages, and you just have to learn them. So so do your research, and then most importantly, go ahead and ask God to help you how to parent. And don't let no one teach you or tell you what you shouldn't or shouldn't do. See, Dr. Kitiboni then saying you have outside sources trying to tell her how to raise her 3 children. They're doing quite fine. Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mhm.
So you unless it's wise counsel, you don't need to hear from anyone else concerning how you raise your children, right? The Word of God tells you how to do it. You have once again wise counsel, Holy Spirit teaching you how to raise your children, and that's all that matters. We tuning out now for true this time. Thank you for being patient with us with this, because normally be all professional and have our cameras and everything and mic sync. So we out now, and God bless you. And until next time, have a beautiful Sunday.